CEO of NPR. First off, let me start with this. It happened with this. Let me pull this up. This editorial that was published. Yuri Berliner. He published this over at the Free Press, right? And he was discussing how, yes, there is bias at NPR. I mean, it was literally titled, quote, "I've been at NPR for 25 years. Here's how we lost America's trust." And he says that, he fits the mold for NPR, etc. As he says, it's always had a liberal bent. He says we were nerdy, but not knee-jerk activist or scolding. He goes, but it's changed in recent years. And he says that it hasn't always been this particularly bad. And he went through some of their hits, Russiagate, the Mueller stuff, all of this. And, he laid out a very good case of their ideology has actually tanked their credibility. And he talks about how NPR, I don't think that the government should be at all funding any kind of media entity, but he says that NPR lost the public's trust. Well, they suspended him. Their senior editor. They suspended him. Ich bin ein Berliner. So he's been suspended because he was honest about what was going on over at NPR. And then NPR decided to write a story about how they suspended him. He publicly argued a week ago that the network had lost America's trust by approaching news stories with a rigidly progressive mindset, which was true. He did. So then everyone started looking at the CEO of NPR. So they wrote this piece kind of as a halfway defense for her. Her name's Catherine Maher. And I find it fascinating because the same left, and NPR has done this too, that always looks at the tweets and social media activity of everybody else. They decided to act offended because people were looking at Catherine Maher's social media activity. Some of the tweets, guys, that she has posted, and you can imagine it makes perfect sense now, are some of the dumbest things I've ever read in my life. I mean, she constantly tweets about DEI stuff, about race. She had said like this. She tweeted this, quote, "Airline business class demographics are such a pet peeve of mine. In the lounge and on the plane, usually over 80% male, usually white." Oh my God. Well then, bitch, why don't you buy a ticket? Just buy the ticket. Change it up. Or you're mad because the argument could be made that demo then, if that's what you perceive it to be, are essentially subsidizing the lower cost of your ticket because they're paying a more inflated price for their tickets. If you really wanted to do that. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that she writes about. It must be nice having that to be your only first world problem. And that's not even a problem. That's stupid. It's usually male, usually for crying out loud. But she had all kinds. I mean, the tweets that she has put out there and she's the CEO of a taxpayer-funded entity. I want to know why my tax dollars that I had forcibly taken from me under penalty of threat by the government, and you would die if you knew how much I paid in tax. Oh, you guys would just die. Why the hell am I paying this Karen's salary? Why am I paying this broad salary? I mean, she's proof that you can go and get a degree and be uneducated. She sounds like a valley girl. She sounds like a bimbo. Her tweets read like a bimbo. The endless thought stream of some vapid, empty-headed, just bimbo. I don't know how else to put it. It's embarrassing as a woman to read her tweets because they're embarrassing. Like, who writes this kind of stuff? She goes, "Who was it that declared a fetus as genetically human from the point of conception?" What? This is no, I'm literally reading it verbatim. This is the stuff that she.
Well, what's it supposed to be? A bird? The fetus?
A dolphin, apparently.
What the hell?
You don't know until it comes out what it's going to be. It's like a piñata, right? You don't know.
Why is it the farther left you go, the more mentally ill you become? I don't understand.
Because there's a relationship there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it not obvious to everybody by now?
I mean, her tweets are, Twitchy has a roundup of them. And then the New York Times got mad because people were pointing out her insane tweets. I mean, they're actually quite ridiculous. And they're trying to make the story about, oh my gosh, these people are picking on this CEO of NPR. You guys picked on your senior editor. You guys picked on him because he had a thoughtful, well-reasoned, completely not confrontational, fact-based piece highlighting the far-left bias that dominates NPR. And NPR suspended him without pay. But apparently the New York Times doesn't think that's picking on someone. Or all of the other media out there, they don't think that's picking on someone. But if you cite the NPR CEO trying to ask, well, who was it that decided that fetuses, that they were human? Like tweeting stuff like this. I just read you one. And being mad over who sits in business class and getting mad over pronouns and all of this stuff. I mean, I can't pick just like one to share. Like this is when she said, she goes, quote, I missed it. Who was it that declared a fetus was genetically human from the point of conception? Oh my gosh. Yeah, literally like science. And then she goes, white men, we really are pretty much the problem these days. This is the stuff she tweets. And then the New York Times and other media entities are shocked that people are picking up on this stuff. These are things that she tweeted really within the last year, and she willingly posted publicly on a social media platform. You guys don't get to make her the victim when you actually victimized your senior editor. Because he was just simply, he was honest.